the moon is
literally satanic. Don't look at it.
Floating pornography.
She's so orb-like.
When you're on a Mormon mission, an orb can really send you to places you don't want to go. Welcome
Can
back.
we scrap and start all over again?
To scrap and start it all again, welcome back to Zelf on the Shelf, the YouTube channel formerly known as Being in Costa Rica. We were in Costa Rica last week.
Yeah, we were.
It was so good.
It passed onto us like a dream.
It was unbelievable. We both had the best time. We got so lucky with the group that we had. Just the best people we could have possibly got. Everyone was so lovely and supportive of each other. The vibes were amazing. I was so impressed by Trova Trip and all their planning and how they made it special for us. I did get the most sick I've ever been in my life in the middle of the jungle. It was a 10 out of 10 pain experience for entire nights, but it's honestly brought me back to life in a brand new way. Being
like an hour or how many hours in by bus ride and then another hour in through boat ride to like a remote jungle.
Yeah. We were it was me and it was God. And I said a prayer in that jungle. Turns out I have a 5.6 centimeters ovarian cyst and that's what was causing all this. But I didn't know that. So I was just like wondering if I had appendicitis or it was crazy. There's like no windows in our cabins, huts, whatever. And so you're just like in the jungle with howler monkeys like screaming all night, experiencing the worst pain of my life. We can't get into it. We're going to do a full Costa Rica debrief for the Claymation podcast because there's so much to talk about. But
yeah, the Howler Monkeys have actually inspired me to pursue my metal, my heavy rock alt, careers, which is why I'm dressed like this today.
Powerful.
This is kind of our thing. We're bringing it back, Y2K style.
Yeah, we are.
We're bringing back the singles ward. You ever seen it? It's a standout comedy. Actually, that's the kind of the vibe of this whole movie, in fact, or this whole episode rather, is when Mormon boys go wild.
Yes.
And boy, when they go wild, they go so wild. The micro rebellions that they have to seek out.
Yes, and Mormon girls. But I will say I do feel like missionary rebellion has got to be more extreme in men because they're sort of, especially historically, being forced to go more, whereas women are very much choosing to go in a sort of different sort of way. So I feel like your look is perfect today because what you are wearing right now would be considered an outrageous Mormon missionary look.
Yeah, but if they wanted to attract more followers... Just kidding. They have way more followers than us, and they are committed.
Yeah, they have 1,000 loyal fans, thus creating financial stability for their brand.
Oh, they've got this. They've got the financial stability down pat. They're locked and loaded.
So if you're new to our channel, I'm Sam. I've never been on a mission.
I'm Tanner. I have been on too many missions.
But mainly for the context of this video, one for 2 years to Brazil.
That is too many.
I know we've made different videos about missions before. We have our collab one with Alyssa Grenfell, which was really fun. But for those who are not familiar with your mission experience, can you just give us a little overview of what the mission was like for you?
Yeah, granted, back in my day, it was a little rougher and tougher, but they've laxed up on some of the things, so the experience may not be perfectly congruent to today's youth who are being just coerced really young to do it.
Then how dare you make this video?
I do understand the positives that people may think about the mission. It takes you to a new place to meet and serve new people when it really is just like a recruitment trip.
Yeah, I mean, and it's full colonizer energy because it's like, let me go to this beautiful new country whose oceans I'm not allowed to swim in and who I'm only allowed to really talk to people about. I worded that sentence terribly, but like you're only really supposed to be there to talk about your belief system and to get people to join it, right? You're not allowed to just like hang and learn with the local people. It's like always with the goal of converting them to your American religion.
And, that new foreign place for a lot of missionaries is like Kansas.
Iowa. So that can be tough. Yeah. I'm assuming you're still glad you went to Brazil, even though to me, when I hear your mission story, I'm like, that sounds terrifying. But having recently gone through a terrifying experience in the jungle, I guess I can kind of relate to where you go through something so scary and hard that it post-traumatic growth is real and you learned a language.
Yeah. Well, now imagine that like you're also like hyper conditioned to be self dissolving in every and self demoralizing and subverting at all times. And they like openly drill that into you. They're like, you don't get to use your first name. You're here as a representative of God. So you represent the church, you represent your family. So don't do anything that'll bring shame.
You can't talk to your family.
Yeah.
They can now, but in your day, what was it? Emailing once or letters?
Emailing once a week and mail like once. I don't even know how often we got the mail. It was not often, probably like once a month or something.
Would you email at a member's house or would you have to go to an internet cafe?
We went to an internet cafe.
Those are always fun.
Yeah.
It's like the slowest internet ever. And you're like, I have to talk to my family. This is my one chance.
Yeah. We like lived, and you only had like a specific hour. So it was like you really just like lived for that 1 hour and like hoping you could catch somebody, you know, on a different side of the world, like in a real time. Like you weren't allowed to chat, but you could email as many times as you wanted.
Oh, when my boyfriend was in the chat on his mission before he slowly started calling me.
And this is kind of the, you know, we were talking about the micro rebellions and huge celebrations over tiny things. It's because it's like the mission was, for me at least, a very like psychologically distressing event where, again, you're like all your sense of individuality is being eroded. And so you're kind of conditioned to not take your own health and well-being seriously because you don't want to be a load on the church. You don't want to waste the church's time or dime. And
the doctor is just your mission president's wife with no medical training.
Yeah, literally. And, you know, my mission president's wife was like, they're both just delightful people, you know, women who are involved in the system, just like nice and genuinely caring. But she also, like, you know, my mom came to pick me up for my mission, and my mission president's wife, she was like, oh, we would love to do this someday. And she was like, no,
don't do it
to
your parents.
Yeah.
And I mean, older couples have it easier than the young, you know, like the young men on missions get sort of hit the hardest, I feel like, in terms of you have more freedom as a senior couple than you would have had on your mission. Just thinking about that, first of all, I don't know how similar the climate of Brazil was to Costa Rica, but that's how I imagine it in my head, like just really hot and humid.
Very similar, yeah.
I don't know how you survived wearing the Mormon missionary outfit. I truly have a newfound respect for you, although I've always thought that sounded impossible.
And, you know, we're walking on the, I didn't realize till this trip, because I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be ready for the jungle. It's going to be like, or, you know, a really hot climate, being out in the sun all day. Like I got skin issues.
Yeah.
And then I was like, as we were there, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we used to be doing this. You know, I'm there in my like little shorts and like swimming in the ocean. And but, you know, when I was a missionary, it's like slacks, cotton tee, or, you know, not tee. Well, yeah, your garment thing underneath. And then which I got my under tee here. Whenever I feel like rebelling, it's Brad Summer. Yeah. Brad Summer's not dead to me, damn it.
Speaking of like the miracles thing, I noticed that when I was writing a missionary, they were always like, everything's a miracle. And they'll just tell you a story where you're like, sounds good. But it's like, doesn't really, you know, everything is just so, you can see like the mania in the way that they write, especially over time. But thinking about my 10 out of 10 ovarian cyst pain experience in the jungle, having experienced such a torturous level of like, I fully have to just surrender to this because it's so like I have no control and it's agony. It did then make me feel like every little moment after that just felt like a miracle. And I kind of feel like the Mormon mission really capitalizes on that phenomenon of like just put you through so much suffering so that then everything becomes a miracle. When you're not actively suffering.
Like, miracles are everywhere.
You are hungry for miracles
to cathedrals.
It makes sense. So yeah, for some reason, we've never really done a video about when Mormon missionaries rebel. And I just love hearing people's tiny all the way up to big stories of how they rebelled in their Mormon mission. Because every time I imagine being on a mission, even as a very faithful Mormon, I was like, how do they do it? Like, how do you... The waking up thing alone, like if you wake up a few minutes past 6, you know, you're on God's time. So you got to wake up right at 6, basically, you know, even just the not being able to sleep in alone. I'm like, how's everyone doing that? But having obviously spoke to you over the years, like I understand like the mental tension you're under to be perfectly obedient all the time.
Oh, they drew like openly or like perfect obedience. That's how we bring the blessings of heaven. Like you gotta be like any infraction, even if it's leaving the house 2 minutes late, like
could ruin a soul's eternal destiny. And I'm like, why do you have that much power? That doesn't seem right.
Forget yourself and go to work, elder.
Like someone could not be saved for eternity because you woke up 5 minutes late. That's just unhinged when you think about the logic of that. But that is very much the vibe of the mission, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I was talking to someone on our Costa Rica trip. Sorry to keep talking about the Costa Rica trip. And they were saying that their rebellion on their mission was buying a book about chess strategy and secretly reading this book about chess strategy. And that just got my wheels turning. And I was like, what other ways have people rebelled on their mission? Because you didn't do any rebellions on your mission. What was the most rebellious thing you did on your mission?
Oh, I must have really indulged in some way. I think we were allowed to play card games. We'd get like really into card games. I just took it out as like pure old-fashioned aggression. Like I was like, now I looking back, I was like, oh, I was physically abusive.
Really?
Yeah, like in a like playful way, but like missionaries would leave their dishes out, and we were just so like, like build up just like filth that a member told us about a chibusio, which is like a spatula. And if you don't do the dishes, you get a spatula. So we were like lining people up. We were just like,
Oh my
whack,
God.
whack, like chibusio. And like people were going nuts in the house. You know, it's like
Was the
19
person
to
in on the
21-year-old elders just like, time for the chibusio, just like hazing.
I
I'm
would have
very
got the
sorry about
chibusio
this.
so hard. My roommate in college would put my dishes on my bed. Horrible. That wasn't cool, Liz.
I may have done that to somebody in college.
I was always the non-dish doer.
I apologize for everything that I did while Mormon.
I'm so sorry. I even saw someone on Reddit recently saying like, I knew Sam at BYU Idaho and she sucked. And I was like, so true. Honestly, so true.
Based.
Anyone with any negative opinion of me from college, yes, based. I have my good spots too, but you know.
Anyone with a negative opinion of me now, probably based.
I asked Jared because he was AP like you. For those who don't know, AP is kind of like the highest rank you can ascend to on a Mormon mission, right? Assistant to the president. So
but you can't ascend. You don't want to ascend, right?
You cannot aspire to it.
You have to have that perfect, humility of not wanting, but willing to accept.
But the mission gets a lot more comfortable once you're AP.
Oh,
right?
so much more comfortable. I don't mean to rub it in, but wow, I know it's like a Costa Rica trip of the mission,
Yes, and compared to the 10 paying ovarian cysts to the rainforest, you must have been just like living
It's like walk on the equator with no hat and no sunglasses, or ride in a Cadillac everywhere and eat out at restaurants. Yeah, I would much rather do that.
Sunglasses or a hat?
No.
Oh my God.
I think they may actually be able to now, because I think I've seen missionaries at least around Temple Square
I wouldn't
wearing.
survive without sunglasses.
Yeah, looking back, I was like, again, just being able to wear a hat, I was like, oh, outside is much more manageable when you can like block out the hot sun.
It's crazy when the sun is, it's amazing. I asked Jared what his most rebellious thing he did on his mission was, and he said it was holding onto a guitar for a bit too long. Like basically a missionary had left a guitar in the apartment and he didn't give it back because you're not supposed to even have your instrument on a mission. But
well, actually that does vary mission to mission.
Yeah, because he said he bet if it was a flute, they wouldn't have cared, but because it was a guitar.
Because it was a flute.
It's true though. Mormons have weird relationship with guitar.
They do, because they're not allowed in sacrament meetings.
Yes, and they can be used to create rock and roll.
Yes, which as we know is driving the kids to sex.
So we have some mission rebellion stories to read today, and I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what would be considered extreme versus.
Mine was probably looking at a TV for a second too long.
Oh, Jared said there was this investigator that wasn't really an investigator or it was just like a member that maybe didn't care about the church. I'm not really sure, but they would go over to this person's house and watch movies when they
is rebellious.
And then he got Jared's companion got replaced, and Jared was like, oh, there's this member who we should go visit with him. And then afterwards his new companion was like, that was a time suck. We should not have done that. And I was just thinking about how like your ability to rebel on the mission is so determined by who your companion is, right? Your codependent spouse for, I don't know, 8 weeks, 3 months, however long they put you together. I'm guessing there's a wide spectrum of the level of snitch that other missionaries are. You seem like you were quite high up on that. You would have snitched. You can only really rebel as much as your companion will let you.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone has their justifications. I'm sure I had like things like that, especially toward the end when you kind of like have been there long enough and you see through kind of the BS of it all and some of the contradictions where it's like, oh, we have a rule that no one's allowed to do this thing, but actually some people are allowed to do that thing and they don't care. And even the mission president breaks some of the rules. So it's like,
I'm so curious about like what missionaries do to kind of signal to each other, because it can be a very delicate game. Like you do not want to get in trouble on your mission, and there are like narcs everywhere, but I'm curious what people would do to like signal that they were cool. So if anyone has a good comment to engage with this video.
So Jared watched movies. No wonder he turned out an apostate heathen. He succumbed to the messagings of the world, the stimulating powers of the television. It was like moth to a flame. The attention was just like, oh, please, like, I must look away. Oh.
Are you ready to hear some mission rebellion stories?
Yes.
These this first batch comes from the ex-Mormon subreddit, so thank you to everyone who contributed. Love you guys. This is the top comment with 347 upvotes, so we'll read this one first. So Rabid Pro Dentite says, I went to South America. I fell madly in love with a girl. She was 18, don't worry. That is worth mentioning because it is disturbing how often you hear about missionaries who will be, they're all above 18, male missionaries, and they'll like make out with some 14-year-old on their mission.
Yep.
because they're 14 in their heads. So I fell madly in love with a girl I taught and baptized. I later taught her nephew who lived with her and her parents, all of whom also got baptized. So I was in their house a lot. I was as straight as an arrow missionary, but I was just totally head over heels for this girl. It was getting to be so uncomfortable around her because the tension was just really heavy. We knew we liked each other so much, but neither one of us had told the other specifically. We just knew. Thankfully, just an insane, like a brilliant premise for a romantic movie, a porn. Just that premise of like forbidden love, genius. Also, God, the hormones at the age you are as a male missionary, I can't even imagine. Thankfully,
Imagine channeling all of that into just self-loathing.
Thankfully, my companion was going home in 2 weeks when the opportunity to talk to her alone presented itself. Not that common, right? To get opportunity to speak to a girl alone on your mission if you have a good companion. He didn't care, so we talked and let each other know how we felt. Ended up making out hard for about 3 to 4 minutes before we knew we had to go back to reality. Imagine that. You've been hanging out with her family a lot and suddenly you get to be in a room and alone and you're like, I really like you. I really like you. And then you make out for 4 minutes.
Wow.
I love it. She was my first kiss.
Wow.
This gets better and better. At the end of my mission, I confessed to my mission president and he told me never to come back for her as I'd always feel guilty that we're together because I didn't lock my heart. Remember the lock your heart talk?
Oh,
That was
yeah,
a big
the
one.
lock your heart.
When I had a boyfriend going on a mission, I read that talk a lot. I was like, he has to lock his heart. He can't love me from afar too much.
Lock it away. Don't let anyone access your heart. Your heart belongs to the corporation soul of the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The way that lock your heart talk just single-handedly set my abandonment trauma on fire when my boyfriend was on a mission. Well, fuck him. Long story short, we are each other's soulmates. We have 4 amazing kids and we'll be celebrating our 21st wedding anniversary next month.
Damn.
So much for the spirit of discernment. Am I right, Prez? Wow. What
Wow.
a fun end to that story.
Yeah.
From a 3 to 4 minute makeout to 21 years and 4 kids later.
That is like such a Mormon missionary. That's a beautiful romance.
You don't get that often where
I would read the book.
Well.
I would read the whole book.
I would read the book.
We would read it on this channel for Patreon.
There's other people in the comments saying they had a similar sort of experience. Someone said, oh my God, I was a bishop's daughter. He was a missionary. We did things that brought us one-way tickets to the celestial kingdom, married for almost 19 years with 3 kids.
Damn.
Yeah.
This is like old. The Mormon mission was initially like, brethren, let us go forth and find us some wives. Yeah. And it sounds like it's
Sorry
working.
They kept it traditional on the mission.
Yeah. Wow.
Someone else said, not my story, but an elder in our mission ran away and got married to a recent convert while his companion was in the shower. The one time you're allowed to be alone.
Yeah.
It's like, this is my chance. Hopefully he jerks off today. You must hear often about like an elder that got in trouble. Can you kind of explain like the way it's talked about when if you found out that an elder in your mission like made out with a girl or something, what would be like the reaction of like a good missionary like you?
Oh, just deep, deep sorrow. Just feeling like heartbroken.
Yeah.
That somebody.
Like God's not in the Chili's.
Yeah, exactly. God has abandoned this Chili's due to the wickedness that has just ensnared the heart of yon elder. Because
it must feel a bit like our whole mission's been sullied. We're a less pure operation.
Yeah, because, you're there for Jesus, ideally. Just got to like suppress all your human instincts and your desire for, or your need for like a personal life, a personal identity.
Opinion, identity, anything at all, yeah.
Because, and if people always are like, but you know what you're getting into when you sign up for a mission, like you should know the rules before. You guys are just complaining that you didn't keep your agreements or felt bad about your agreements or whatever. And now you're like, I was hoodwinked. And I was like, but you are like groomed from your childhood. Most of us were born in the church.
I hope they call me on a mission. Like it does not get more brainwashy than that. And they're like, well, you chose to do it. It's like, first of all, most people's parents are like hanging college tuition over their heads and things like that. Like it can't be overstated how much a lot of people have to go or they become financially destitute.
Yeah.
Even though they're paying to go on the mission, or their parents will pay for their mission and college if they go on a mission.
Yeah.
But if they don't, they just get no money.
Yeah, and they're, taught that marriage and family is the most important thing. And there's definitely this culture, or at least was back when, that like if someone didn't go on a mission,
Oh yeah, no way. I would
good
not
luck.
have married a non-returned missionary. Even if they had kind of a good excuse, it would depend on the excuse, but I'd be pretty skeptical. You know what I mean? I'm like, if you
You're like,
faithfully
oh, you
could have
just
made it
didn't want to
work.
shave. You
Yeah.
just didn't care enough for God.
If someone was like depression, so I didn't go, I'd be like, okay,
Okay, you're
so
going to
you're
be
a
depressed
sinner.
all the way to hell.
Yeah, bye.
Good brother.
Oh, someone said Kolob Calling is the account. I called my mission president out for lying to me. I never had another interview with him the last half of my mission until I went home. Then I refused to spend the night at his home the last night. That's ballsy. I had my parents pick me up at the office after my exit interview. He was so pissed, but I walked out with a huge smile.
Damn.
Yeah, we have to. Everyone in the comments is like, what was the lie? We have to know.
I know. I want to know.
It's such a tease. Ooh, this person, when Michael Awakens, said, I swam a lot. You're not allowed to swim as a missionary.
Even when Satan controls the waters personally?
Every P day that wasn't a group P day, my companions never swam, but they never told that I know of. The sin of swimming.
Yeah. Oh, someone was talking about on the CR trip, on the great CRT, talking about just like sitting in a river and like eating ice cream was like the most bliss that they had ever experienced, and like felt the Holy Ghost. And I'm like, just something like that, just being like, I mean, that would be a good day for me any day. I like sitting in a river is like prime.
I always want to be sitting in a river for sure.
Don't watch this channel unless you want to be living in a van down by the river eating ice cream.
This is a channel for those special sinners who sat in the river on their missions. Someone said they looked at porn on their mission. It was during the pandemic, so we were using church iPhones to preach. Anyway, the phones were heavily restricted, but a friend gave me an email and password as a workaround. And at first, I just watched YouTube, but got bored and decided to have fun. Also, my companions and I used church funds to buy portable DVD players, DVDs, phones, PSPs, and video games. It helped kill the boredom of lockdown because there was literally nothing to do but read church books. And it didn't help that there was no TV or internet aside from phones. But that was primarily for preaching the gospel. That's so understandable. Wow. You would have to be so bored as a missionary in lockdown. It's like, what's the point?
Oh, yeah.
The one saving grace of the mission is probably just connecting with people.
No, it's being inside, not having to be out knocking doors.
Oh,
like
well,
anytime that just like had to happen by circumstance, you know, you fall in a manhole or something and you're like, well, we better take the rest of the day off instead of spending our last 15 minutes.
Bringing us all to Christ.
Yeah. And then you're like, wow, 15 extra minutes spent at home.
But imagine if you're at home, that's all you knew.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah.
With an expectation to be like connecting with people preachily wise online, maybe. Tell us how it was. Pandemic missionaries.
This is so true, but top comment on that says a sane church would have recalled you in March 2020 or earlier. And it's like, yeah, they had all that we knew by March 2020. You should just probably send them away.
Yeah.
Someone said we were in the sister's apartment when they were at home. It's a funny story, nothing untoward. Then later, hitchhiked back from spending the day across the island, completely out of our zone, and it wasn't even a P day, personal day. The people that picked us up had a king cab pickup, and all four of us, my companion and the two sisters, squeezed into the back. The sisters sat on our laps. That's where you lose me, because I'm like, you have no interest in bringing souls to Christ at that point, a sister on the lap. It was strange and funny at the same time. I was 2 weeks away from going home.
Wow, this is a Arrested Development moment. This is truly
why
George Michael's in love with his cousin. She has to sit on his lap. You know, it's like,
oh, they said on being in the sister's apartment, we had planned on spending the day sightseeing the island because we all knew we were transferring or going home. So it was our last chance to see the island. The main city was full of missionaries, and one could easily run into another companionship. Me and my companion dressed in our proselytizing clothes with our street clothes underneath. We would change in the hallway outside the sister's door, which was just stripping off our outer clothes. Just as we were doing this, another sister companionship arrived unexpectedly, and our sisters in question quickly rushed us inside their apartment to hide. So they're all standing at the door talking while me and my companion are just sitting on one of their beds trying to be quiet. Once that companionship left, we all bolted out of there and took a cab all the way across the island. Someone said they went to a zoo on P Day.
Oh, my dream.
It's not allowed.
I wanted to go to the zoo for my birthday, and they were like, nope. And I was like, but I'm AP.
The following week, I received a scathing chastisement for engaging in a district activity, which were apparently banned in my mission, and I just didn't know. He called me to repentance, and I really beat myself up about it for a while. Oh, repenting for going to the zoo.
Repent, all ye evil zooers.
Oh my God, there was a missionary mauled by a lion.
Oh.
At Guatemala Zoo.
That's what happens when you break mission rules.
Yeah, honestly.
You get mauled by the lion. You can't just get away with going to the zoo.
This is a news story from 2011, but it says a 20-year-old Mormon missionary from Utah is in a Guatemalan hospital with serious arm and leg injuries after being mauled by 2 lions at a zoo. Holy shit.
Oh my God. Did he climb into the pit? Was he like, anything's better than a mission?
Yeah.
I'm getting out of here. Death by lion.
Yeah, most noble way to go out.
Oh yeah, literally.
Daniel and the lions. You could totally see why you would think you could take them. The Bible is telling you can maybe take them.
Devoured by the Lion of Judah, take me.
I could so see a Mormon missionary having a psychotic break and being like, I can get into that den of lions and I'll be protected by the Spirit. I could so see it. So apparently this missionary climbed a tall concrete wall in front of the lion cage and stood much higher off the ground from the spectator side of the enclosure than the lion side. When he turned his back to have his picture taken, the animals snuck up behind him. One of the lions then reached through the cage and grabbed his right leg while the other animal went for his left arm. Another missionary came to his aid before zookeepers arrived and fired shots in the air. He lost about 5 pints of blood and suffered heavy arterial bleeding from the arm injury, but doctors did expect a full recovery. That was 2011. So if you are that guy, get in touch with us now. How you doing?
I like to believe that they have fixed their little lion policy. They probably have like an official thing in the White Handbook that's like, by the way, never turn your back on nature.
Yeah, maybe that's why you're not allowed to go to zoos. No, because some of those were from before.
Maybe.
I mean,
but
it's not a good look.
Missionaries at the zoo.
Getting mauled by lions.
Oh, getting mauled by lions.
It's like you don't have that spirit of Christ with you because the lion still got you.
Yeah.
Something was missing in your faith. And it was because you went to the zoo.
It's because you climbed up on there thinking that you're just, can get a better picture than everybody else.
Yeah.
Yikes. Or maybe he called the prophet Baldy and then the prophet cursed him because that seems to be a standard, a canonical God prophet, biblical insulter kind of pattern we got going on.
This person said, trick assignment 3811, as pathetic as it is, I didn't work at all on Halloween night. This was their biggest rebellion on the mission. I was in a small town in France and they had just started the tradition of trick or treating. I wasn't about to contact people or knock doors while kids were trick or treating. I felt horrible about it, and obviously it's still in my mind today. The only night in 2 years I didn't work. Whoa. It's unfathomable to me, the thought of working every night for 2 years.
Yeah, it sucks. Even P-Day, the like preparation day that you have to do all your like chores, laundry, mail, email, grocery shopping, whatever. You're supposed to get that all done. And it's not even a full day. You still have to go out and work that night. It was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful.
And would you look forward to that personal day every week?
Oh yeah. That's like,
even though you're just like doing laundry
and like hopefully squeezing in a nap. Like,
were you allowed to take a nap on P-Day?
Yeah.
On P-Day you were?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I bet that would be so nice.
Yeah. But it wasn't even the full day. And you were expected to like knock doors on Christmas Eve. And it's like, people are going to be with their families. It's a great time to talk about families. And it's like, no, they don't want to be talking to two strangers. Enjoy
their families.
Let them just be. And so we just like felt so bad.
Like, we're here to talk about the importance of family by interrupting your family time to talk about our thing while we've been separated from our families on this here special holiday because we believe in family so much.
Will you commit to flushing your coffee down the toilet
on this Christmas Eve for Jesus lying in the manger? On any video we make where we talk about missions, which, by the way, when we talk about your mission, I feel like you're very upfront about the positives and the negatives. Like, you're not just like, it was horrendous. Or, it was very hard. But you obviously see the good in it, right? And
I see the good way they frame it.
Yeah, but you can see what felt positive at the time.
Yeah.
What, you have like a very like holistic perspective. I feel that you're not just like out here pretending no one ever enjoys their mission or has a experience that feels good to them.
Right.
But the comment we will always get is that thing of like, you knew what you're signing up for. But mission president roulette seems even crazier than bishop roulette, where I've heard of truly insane mission presidents where you can't do anything. Like, even they are inventing their own extra rules on top of the already strict rules.
The mission president trip is quite a trip unique to the mission because it's such a cult-like environment. And that's why missionaries are so weird when they come off the mission, because they have been living in this cult with like really intense rules, really intense, like, no personal identity, absolute devotion to like one single person who is like the stand-in for God and your parents. And yeah, it's just It's a lot. And, you know, it's like, oh, it gets you to a new place. Maybe you learn a new language. You're serving people. But again, like on my mission, and there are like service missions, they do have those. But mine, we weren't allowed to do service because the only thing we should be doing is knocking doors and baptizing. And we were like inviting people to be baptized like the day we met them on the street, like had a card to like pull out and it's like, are you ready? If you knew that there was a prophet on the earth today, wouldn't you want to know what he had to say? If you did, would you then follow his example by being baptized into his one true corporation? I mean, church? And at the time, like dissent is just absolutely not allowed in Mormonism. Like rebellion in any way, the worst thing you can do, the satanic archetype is be like, wait, these rules don't make sense. And they're like, you idiot, it's not about making sense. It's about obedience, first law of heaven. So like, here's an example. God's Army is a movie about Mormon missions. And when it came out, at least my family was like very like, this is not a good, kind of like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, where it's like, this doesn't represent us. And it wasn't a bad representation of Mormon missions. It was just an honest one that portrayed both the like genuine intent that some people had, as well as like an example of an elder who was just like had headphones on and was like listening to rock music.
What's the movie called again?
God's Army.
Is it made by Mormons?
It's made by what's his name, director Dutcher, and who at one point was a missionary and was a believer. I think at the time the movie was made, he was probably a nuanced believer. I don't know where he's at now, to be honest. Anything I said would be pure speculation. So someone let us know. Richard Dutcher, ? If you're watching, let us know your name and where you're at faith-wise. You know, when people see our reactions to things, they're like, oh, you guys are just complainers and you're you just didn't get it. And it's like, no, we fully got it. We're fully bought into it.
Very sunny and positive.
We're very much like, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. This is so good. Like, I just feel so good. That's why I'm on a mission, is because I want to share the happiness that this thing has brought me. Like, I'm, you know, moved to tears all the time because of things that are happening to me in the church. And I just want everyone to feel it. And it was like, the reason I was feeling that way is because I was like under a ton of stress, and any like tiny thing would just be like, gah, gah. But yeah, it was like terrible. And I had been like very much groomed into it from a very young age to be offering like a very, very psychologically intense experience for the benefit of a corporation at the risk of my own personal safety, because like going to the hospital in a country where they have like some of the best public healthcare in the world, Brazil, and we were still like, you know, if you could just drink coconut water, like just do that for a month before you see anyone. Kind of that, because you don't want to. And, you know, we did have elders who had to go to the hospital, of course, like, but the impression upon me was like, just if you're deathly sick, you still go out and work. Like
coconut water. That was the mantra on your mission, right?
So yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you know, all the benefits could easily be reaped in a different experience that actually would have been much more growth oriented and positive for me. I think we do learn through hard things if we choose to frame them that way. But that doesn't mean we should go around like hitting ourselves in the face with hammers because we're going to get something positive out of it.
Yeah, it's like post-traumatic growth is real. But I feel like with a Mormon mission, it's not just an experience like where you get really sick and you think you're going to die, and so then you learn a lot, or you do something really hard like train for a marathon and it's like grueling. It's actually like wiring your brain in a lot of dysfunctional ways that you are then going to have to untangle if you ever want to be mentally healthy again. I feel like in almost all cases, because by design, the Mormon mission breaks down your sense of self, but not in a positive, like, and so you're free to be whatever you truly are, and not what, it's like, no, it's to become the thing that the Mormons want you to be and to be perfectly obedient. And so that's why, like, anytime I've seen a recently returned missionary, like got back from a mission in the last few weeks, they are always off. There's always, they just seem like broken socially. And I just don't think that's good. Like, I understand sometimes you know, I'm sure if you go away and do a meditation retreat for a week or a month, you probably feel a little bit weird coming back. But there's just something off about every return missionary I've ever met. And there's this like, you can like see the fear in them at having to like make their own decisions. Like the Mormon mission is really what's wiring you for like, if you don't do the work to untangle it, a lifetime of self-loathing and like weird reliance on authority, and not necessarily good authority, which is why even ex-Mormons, when they leave Mormonism, are still like way more likely to join other cults or get in MLMs or whatever. It's doing so much damage that I'm just like, post-traumatic growth doesn't really it's got to be a net negative almost all the time, in my opinion, even though everyone's journey is different and you can't really like paint it so black and white.
Yeah, there's even ex-Mormons who are like, it did teach me like a really valuable set of skills. Like I learned how to sell shit. Like somebody said that in Costa Rica, was like, oh yeah,
and
like
it's so important to learn
marketing
how to
has
sell
helped
shit.
me, and like being more like direct in that way and thoughtful in that way has been beneficial. I'm like, yeah, fair enough.
And that's why we're just going to pause for 20 seconds and Tanner's just going to do his quick sales pitch for our Patreon in the middle of the video.
If there was a prophet on the earth today, wouldn't you want to know it? That prophet is, how much does Patreon give us?
Not as much as you need.
It's a prophet, I tell you.
Daddy Patreon. Daddy Patreon's here to save us all.
Yeah.
He suffered so that we don't have to.
And by donating to it, you ensure that that we'll buy so many little trinkets for ourselves.
Yes, and pay our bills.
Yeah.
Our ovarian cyst bills.
Our systemic bills.
Thank you, Tanner, for that. Back to Mission Rebellion.
I'm rebelling from our mission. I don't even care. I'm just going to text.
Someone said I bought a copy of the Apocrypha and read parts of it on my mission. Pretty edgy.
Wow. Yeah. Damn, that is edgy. Reading outside of the canon, dangerous. I did like occasionally, like I indulged by reading a Jehovah Witness tract.
Wait, someone said that.
Wait, really?
Someone said I had a JW Bible with a word-for-word Greek translation, and that was their rebellion on the mission. We had an ex-JW on our Costa Rica trip, which was so fun to hear about. Someone said we watched sitcoms with less active members or forever investigators who didn't actually want to talk to us, like about the church, but didn't mind the company. It was a lot of fun to be invited in and get a plate of food, a soft chair, and pretend we were going to share a spiritual thought, when really we were all going to get distracted by La Rosa de Guadalupe reruns. I was not a very rebellious missionary. That sounds fun. That sounds really nice.
Yeah, that does sound nice. That was the ticket when you like had lunch with just like some cool people that you could just like kind of unwind a little bit with, where you weren't just like fully in like.
I feel like my bishop's family back home, who I was like most close to in the ward, I feel like they were that soft landing place for missionaries, but they were very above board about it. Someone said, this is such a silly thing to be a rebellion. We knocked doors in a neighboring town that was technically out of our area, but all the members who lived there went to our branch instead of the big city one that they were supposed to go to. So rebellious. I had a splitting headache on the bike ride back, and do what is right stuck in my head, convinced that I'd incurred the wrath of God.
By trying too hard to be a missionary, by going outside of the bounds to preach the word.
Yikes, I was so fucking brainwashed. God. If that isn't a metaphor for just Mormonism, though, you know, like you're still doing the super culty thing of knocking on doors trying to convert people to Mormonism, but you're doing it in a slightly different area than you're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah. Think about how that would affect the paperwork. You would never get away with it.
Yeah. This person sounds like they're actually a real bad boy on the mission. They said surfing, clubs, doing nothing and turning in fake numbers at the end of the night, a few willing girls, morning runs without my companion. I tried to make my own wine. I bought alcohol on my 21st birthday, got caught playing StarCraft at an internet cafe with 5 other elders at 2 a.m. I was on vacation the last year and change. Wish I would have decided to defect sooner. Wish I had decided never to show up to the cult grooming MTC in the first place. The last half of my mission was dope AF. I was a 20-something in a foreign country on vacation. No fucks given. I love that. And I hope your parents were paying for it.
Wow. That literally is like a dream.
Yeah.
Wow. Except for that I would just leave at that point.
Yeah.
I have those dreams of like, I have like a missionary and I wake up to it and then I'm like, whoa, I could do whatever. And then I'm like, I'm actually going to just leave now.
Good sign that your subconscious is healing.
Yeah, it's
very good sign. I have a lot of dreams that I'm back at BYU Idaho, and for some reason in the dream I'm like, okay, I got to find a husband or like a person because I'm like alone in the world. I think it's just a metaphor for how like I felt like I had to go find a husband at BYU Idaho because I was alone in the world.
So hard being alone in this world.
So hard being alone in this world. This person said, this is Cole_Matrix. While zone leader, I planned to take the zone to a mall with an arcade. I invited all companionships, but the sisters had only planned a shopping trip. It was preparation day and we went, we had fun, and then taught English. At night, when reporting our numbers, the APs were shocked at how low our zones were. They called us back 5 minutes later and said our story doesn't add up. I'm like, what the fuck? It's our P day. We do no proselytizing. We never have any numbers. Looking back, I think another companionship told them we went to the arcade thinking they'd be cool with it, and they decided to try to priesthood spirit Jedi mind trick us. They kept pressuring us, asking, is there any reason why our zone wouldn't have the spirit? And eventually we told them we went to an arcade. The next day, we get an early call from the president saying to haul our asses down to the office for an impromptu worthiness interview. He grills us for like an hour and says we broke the handbook. I said the handbook says computer games, which is different from arcade games. I think a Mormon missionary...
Valid. That is a loophole.
It is. And I really think a Mormon missionary playing a game in an arcade could actually be a great jumping off point for them having a normal conversation with someone.
Yeah.
That could be helpful.
Yeah. That's a fault of the rule book writer.
The handbook should have
Monfrere.
explicitly mentioned
El Presidente.
but spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. I think the spirit of the law is no arcade games. And they should have intuited
You
that.
should have if you were spiritually attuned.
But you can tell the person was innocent in it because you wouldn't be a zone leader and be like, okay, everyone in the zone, we're going to do that if you didn't think it was okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway.
But those things got to be like slot machines to a gambling addict. They probably went nuts.
Yeah. Can you imagine the dopamine? Oh, and then the handbook was apparently changed shortly after to say video games, not just computer games. I did a little bit think computer games were different because they were solo on a computer in private, which we learned from Adam's story is not a good idea. Much higher risk behavior because you will look at porn. This nuance was lost on my president, who said that's the kind of thing Satan would say. He then asked how else we were breaking the handbook, and somehow it came out that we had airsoft guns.
Oh my God.
That does seem ballsy.
That checks out, but also ballsy.
That, he said, was beyond the pale and was clearly forbidden by the handbook. I said, no, it says firearms. And he said, how are they not? I said, because no gunpowder, no fire. This only enraged him further. I love the thought of him trying to logic his way out of it. Like, it's not a firearm. There's no fire.
I mean, this, I don't know what this person, but I know some neurodivergent people who would have just very much been like, this is the rule, like, and just like genuinely like not expected there to be some like subtext that was left out.
Yeah.
Because they tell you to be very like by the rules.
I feel like I've been in this situation so many times in life where I'm trying to like explain what to me feels like a very logical, not even loophole, but just like, and then it doesn't go down well, especially not in situations where you're expected to cede to authority.
Yeah.
So anyway, he then lightly threatened excommunication because we were leaders, and then yelled and blustered and sent us back to our zone.
For the arcade?
For taking them to the arcade.
He was going to...
Well, and having airsoft guns.
Excommunicate you?
Yeah, that's next level for sure. That means you can't show up to church anymore, right?
Wow, that is being bad cop that day. Damn.
The church is not doing itself any favors.
You're stripped from the record. They probably keep your number to report.
Yeah, I mean, you're still counted as a member, but
you are not a member.
I thought I was for sure getting bumped to junior companion next move call. Nope, spent my last 2 move calls as senior to a very depressed junior who didn't know why he wasn't senior yet. Spoiler, he wasn't the type A personality a mission selects for and went home. The next mission conference, my president stopped halfway through and he kicked the sisters out. Then asked all of the elders who had BB guns. Over half raised our hands, including the APs. This is like a funny story only if you're in the know about Mormon mission culture. Just imagine. To an outsider, it's just like, what's the big deal?
Oh, that is
half
so funny.
Of them being like,
so easy to see.
So he yelled at all of us and then brought the sisters back. They assumed somebody finally did it and slept with a prostitute or something.
Again, a very common Mormon mission mythology.
That someone slept with a sex worker?
Yeah. There's always like, oh yeah, there was an elder who got sent home early. Elder Lusterbuster.
I found out that the other nearby missions found out about the gun purge, but through the telephone game, they also assumed some kind of debauchery. How do I say debauchery?
Debauchery, yeah.
Debauchery. Debauchery went down. That's a fun one. Thank you for sharing that one. Someone said their rebellion was hugging a guy. Ooh, scary. So they must have been a woman.
Wow, human connection.
This
Thou
person
shalt
actually
not.
deleted their account since posting this.
Then
what happened?
Oh, then we should cut that out. If you know. Oh, does it just that they deleted that?
It's just anyone saying I hugged a guy on my mission.
Okay. Sure, it's happened more than once. It sounds like it has.
Someone said, we gave money to a member and they'd rent movies for us and we'd watch them at their house. Only consequence was extreme guilt for years. No biggie. Oh, my companion and I TP'd a member's house. They had a cute daughter. We never got in trouble, but I'm pretty sure the family knew who did it.
We did rebel. We gave like a meth head money once. You're not supposed to give money to anyone. And it was like a guy we were teaching who was like struggling with meth, and like he would come to our house like, please, elders, please, I just need like, and we just like,
you didn't have any money on your mission.
We did. We had like a little bit of cash.
Yeah, but I know how poor
but
you were.
we did not have
like you
spending money. And you know, it was like, you know, not that much, but you were like definitely not supposed to do that. But we were just like, damn, this sucks. Like,
And do you think he was using it for meth?
I mean, his thing is like, oh, I need money to buy money for my son, and we knew his son, and I was just like, oh, but we know you're doing math, but also this feels bigger than all of that.
Yeah. We were teaching a family that owned a surf shop, and they took us surfing. I think that's if someone's teaching you about their religion, they should get to teach you to surf.
Yeah.
It's a fun exchange. But Satan controls the waters.
He does. And waters make up 75% of our bodies. So riddle me that. That's why everyone's sinning so much. If Satan controls the water, is there a chance that Satan lives on the moon? Because the moon also has a say in water, I believe.
And has a bit of a feminine energy, which is threatening to
a very
missionary.
satanic. Yeah.
The moon is
literally satanic. Don't look at it.
Floating pornography.
She's so orb-like.
When you're on a Mormon mission, an orb can really send you to places you don't want to go. So I have a friend who went to the same mission as you, and I think this is kind of an interesting story. So he said, overall, my mission in southern Brazil had a crazy culture of missionaries and church leaders using others' mistakes to take advantage of each other and improve their one position. Would you agree with that? Did that feel true for you?
Occasionally, yeah.
Missionaries who snitched on others were often rewarded with positions of authority and praised for being more obedient missionaries. I got caught being out past 9 p.m. curfew one night after an evening playing Uno with a very poor family of members who let us be in their home when we had nowhere else to go. Are you allowed to play Uno on the mission with a member? That seems like you would be allowed.
With a member, we probably wouldn't have done that.
Really?
But I don't know if it was expressly forbidden.
We were walking home and the local bishop saw us and called the mission president, and the next transfer I was sent to the furthest possible area in the mission as a punishment. The snitching culture led to and I think he got sent to like the outskirts of Brazil, and he said and like nobody spoke any English and it was freezing.
Oh,
so quite different from your experience.
Yeah.
The snitching culture led to a very underground mob mentality in my mission. Many missionaries aligned into underground groups where they shared mission contraband, like speakers for music, instruments, games, and athletic equipment, all of which was banned in our mission. I was so happy when I found out that there's a mission, or maybe it's a set of missions, but they have a Google Doc of ex-Mormon content, and someone said they found our videos because we were in this like master doc of like an illegal, like rebellious missionary Google Drive, and I've never felt more flattered. Never felt more.
We're in the underground.
We're in the underground missionary drive. Hey, if you're watching from the underground missionary drive, love you. Get out. Okay, missionaries had a very distinct system. This is what I was curious about. Of feeling out who was a person you could relax around and not feel so much pressure, and others who are notorious for throwing their companions and others under the bus in order to improve their position.
They're trying to make me sound like the bad guy here.
But I feel like you would have done it out of a genuine sense of like, not even to improve your position, just because you were so pure in Mormonism that you were like, I have to report this.
Yeah. And it depends on the gravity too. If it was just like whatever, like I'm not gonna do that. You wouldn't like. It would have to be a private conversation with the mission president, and we only got like a private conversation once with the mission president. I don't know. Once. I
imagine the mission president kind of like a polygamous dad, where it's like you're really not seeing him that often, but you are supposed to kind of look up to him at all times and like follow his authority, even if he gets put in prison.
Defer to him at every single thing.
Yeah.
And, they try to pick, I don't know.
Some of the ways people talk about their mission presidents, it's so clear how much the emotional codependency, because it sounds intense, the relationship you can have with them.
Yeah, I like, and, I have fondness for them. Like we did connect just like as people. Mm-hmm. Similar to my parents from the same state,
yeah,
it makes sense. But at the same time, oh, you know how we rebelled? I think I said this maybe in a last time we talked about missions, but we played hide and seek in the mission office past bedtime.
Ooh,
it was, clocks winding down, like, no one's taking a fall. It's not going to even be that big of a deal. The office is a different vibe, like way more fun. Mm-hmm. We were like prank calling missionaries and stuff. And it was like good for the morale. Like,
yeah, I feel like I was a good investigator for missionaries because I was genuinely very interested and there was like a year I wanted to get baptized, but they have to get your permission from your parents, blah, blah, blah. But the missionaries would always do like elaborate voicemails to me. Like if it was my birthday, they would do like a whole thing via voicemail that you could tell they like prepared. And I was like, oh, glad they had that.
Yeah.
When you were on a mission, you wouldn't have had iPhones the way they do now. But this person said, I discovered if I asked Siri about movies. Yes, come on, Scott.
I'm just like laughing at that sentence. It makes me feel really old. Like, on my mission,
in
we
your
weren't
day.
even allowed to send telegrams.
If I asked Siri about movies, then she'd let me watch the trailer without the video being blocked. I watched so many trailers my last couple of months and felt only kind of bad for it.
Yeah, because it's not watching a movie, which you're not supposed to do, but nowhere does it say, thou shalt not watch a trailer.
Okay, someone's rebellion was I went to an Alex Boy concert.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
Members gave us $200 while we were there and let us in for free. They were $50 a ticket, no consequences. I also rode a horse and went razor riding.
Okay, this happened in Salt Lake City, right? This is a Utah mission for sure.
I mean, at an Alex Boyer concert.
For sure, with like
it's probably a Mormon performance.
Yeah, I mean that's Alex Boyer.
Yeah.
He's like Deseret Book.
What's he up to lately? Remember when he did that Hamilton parody that was so hard to watch?
Because it was not a parody by intention.
And it was so racist.
Oh.
I thought I was in love with a missionary from Samoa. I was convinced after our missions I would move to American Samoa when I'd never been out of the United States in my young adult life. He was my district leader at one point and arranged a one-on-one interview, and we hugged for a long time. I remember feeling so guilty about it for years, feeling like I didn't serve faithfully, when in reality, I was just a horny young adult. It's so interesting. I think when I was Mormon, you know that missionaries rebel, but you don't realize how much it's people at every level. The APs have got airsoft guns. The district leaders are giving hugs in the one-on-one. It's carnage out there. Like, no one can be trusted at this age.
Evil weeds growing everywhere.
Someone said they spent the day as an extra in a movie. That was their mission rebellion.
Were they dressed as a missionary? That's what I want to know, because that would be amazing. Tell us the movie.
Perfect.
Yeah, literally.
I had a history of letting my companions who were going home go see some members in their old areas before they left. In my wealthy area, we hung out a lot with the members and the elders. One transfer, one of the elders was sick a lot, and they had a sexually active upstairs neighbor. So we let them relax in our apartment instead of the chapel that was 15 miles away. We started hanging out with them in our apartment, and then that elder had a scare and ended up in the ER and was sent home.
Oh, shit.
We all freaked out, but our mission president said, get back to work. I emailed him and said that I didn't appreciate that, and he showed up while the elders were in our apartment. My companion went home and the rest of us were emergency transferred. Sorry, what happened? I don't really understand this one.
They were just resting in a member's house or at home instead of in the chapel?
No, I think it was like a missionary let a different, like they didn't live with this other missionary and they let them hang out in their apartment, which would have been wrong.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to have sleepovers with, even if you're both missionaries.
It sounds like every dystopian I've ever read, where it's like, you know, people like trying to connect through this invisible wall of authority that's like conditioned them to like repel from each other, and just like the secret signals and the way that you have to like just connect in a regular human way, but it feels so subversive due to the like suppressive culture.
I would love to do a video just focused on like really good love, romance, sex stories that happen on the Mormon mission through that wall. So this person also said they spent the rest of their mission in the same ward as their mission president and struggled with anxiety and thoughts of self-harm the whole time. People are surprised to learn that your personal day on the mission is not actually a personal day, because someone was like, is it not a day off from missionary work and missionary clothes? And then everyone's like, nope.
Not really.
No, you still got to wear your suit, which doesn't really feel like a day off.
You do get to wear, like, you could like play sports that day, you could theoretically wear, or if you know,
knee-length basketball shorts with your knee-length shorts underneath.
And I've seen missionaries around here who are like casual but with their plaque, and I'm like, shopping in our clothes, are we? And I'm sure
it's probably changed now though. Yeah,
it probably has. And maybe, you know, it's one of those things that was like, we were running and then we decided to stop by the store, save some time. But God, it's gotta suck, because like the members love you, but they're also always like watching you and so ready to report to the mission president, because some members get off on telling you about how great they were on their mission, and like looking down on the elders essentially as just like not what they need to be, and like we're so happy to call the president.
Ugh.
I feel like there was a handful in every ward.
Members snitching on missionaries.
Yeah.
Sad.
But sometimes for legitimate things, like someone kicked a frog in our mission, and someone called the mission president. He was like, don't do that.
This is not the first time I've said this.
Valid.
Every Mormon boy I ever know has a frog abuse story. I'm not joking.
I never abused a frog.
Like my ex-husband and all his friends did like some prank thing where they like ate a frog or like set a frog on fire. I can't remember what it was.
Jesus.
No, I know, but it's not I've heard multiple Mormon boys talk about how they abused a frog. I don't know why, but it's
Ooh.
like multiple. It's a thing.
I mean, you know,
anyone have an abuse? Don't share the story, but if anyone can back me up.
I mean, we heard stories about people doing like, and I think, I don't know, boys kind of especially have like some kind of malicious thing that needs to work its way out in adolescence. I don't know. I was
like,
brought up in
let's
like
make friendship
hunting
bracelets.
culture where it was like normal to just like kill an animal. Like,
But didn't you one time shoot a deer and then you hated it and you never did it again?
I didn't shoot a deer. I shot a chipmunk. But then I lied about it because I felt so bad that I shot a chipmunk. I was like, it was an accident. It like bounced off a rock, right? You
But
know,
it was
like,
on purpose.
it was.
But then once you saw
incredible
it,
marksman.
you regretted it as soon as you saw.
Yeah. But then I also shot a bird too, like with a BB, you know, different situation, BB gun, bow and arrow, totally different.
Yeah, I don't understand the young man impulse to just maim an animal.
Yeah. I'd say probably as a teenager, I was like learning to empathize more and being like, oh yeah, like I would much rather shoot a bird with a camera than with a gun. Yeah. I got a hold of some Thoreau as a teenager and it changed me.
Yeah. In South America, the primary meal of the day was always around 1 p.m. In my mission, foodborne illnesses were ubiquitous. So the rule was we could only eat this large meal with someone who had ostensibly received the church's training in safe food handling. My mission, I've had so many bad food stories of people getting so sick on missions from, because you have to basically eat what the members give you, don't you?
Yeah.
Nightmare. My mission had a lot of bleak times, but I always looked forward to the filling and impeccably prepared lunches every day. Generally, the pension, I don't know what that is, would be
like
with pension would be with one of the popular and prominent sister members in the ward/branch, but sometimes it would be at a non-member house where they had TV playing.
Maybe that means lunch.
So basically they watched TV. A lot of like started with Miramar and Maria I think it's like soap operas, like South American soap operas.
Fun.
And they got hooked and it improved their Spanish abilities. So I like that.
I bet that would have helped.
Ooh, someone's rebellion. I ordered an album by the Mormon Tabernacle Choir directly from an online retailer. I was supposed to get approval through the mission office for anything sent to the apartment. I confessed and apologized to the mission president. I'm ashamed to admit this is the most rebellious thing I did.
Oh, elder, thinking you could go to the celestial kingdom when you have profanely acquired the gift of the Holy Ghost through contraband material.
There are 2 people who have left comments about
or sister,
something to do with Toyota cars having a plug in the glove box that connects to the mileage computer. And you could basically rig it to watch portable DVD players through these Toyota cars. A number of people saying basically they were so exactly obedient on the mission because they were trying to make themselves straight. That's always a fun trajectory.
Classic tale. How did it go?
Are you straight?
Did it work?
How's being straight? Someone bought a crab at the local market and tried to keep it alive as a pet. It did not survive. Someone else said we did the same thing with a duckling. It's a very American male thing to just be like, I'll have that animal and keep it alive with no specialized knowledge of what it needs to thrive or survive.
Just foolhardy attempt to provide some kind of nurturing energy.
This is why I think teddy bears could be monumental for a lot of missionaries. So you can project any loving personality onto them you need. The crab's not going to be able to do it. Tana, what does it mean to be called trunky on the mission?
Trunky means you just want to go home so bad and everyone knows it.
And that is a sin.
It's definitely a sign of like your heart is not where it needs to be. And boy, some people were trunky. You're supposed to lock your heart away, keep it in that trunk and keep it just so trunk down.
We have a Jack Wayland miracle. Someone said, technically drank, though I didn't mean to. A server spiked my dessert. That is exactly what almost happened to Adam, the son of Charlie and Sam, in our Adam series, except it turned out to not be a tiramisu, it was a cannoli. Thank God.
Thank God.
Because the sin of tiramisu is not one you want to come back from on the mish.
I would rather be mauled by lions than commit such an intentional sin like that. That is honestly like the best case scenario that could happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're like, I didn't choose it. It just happened to me. So I'm the victim and I get to enjoy it.
But you might feel guilty for enjoying it. That's the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing.
Well, I don't know. I think I would
I wouldn't
just
have.
enjoy it.
Yeah, but there are people that would, because they'd be like, I'm not pure anymore. Some people really don't want to lose the I've never ingested alcohol complex.
That is true.
It's hard for them to let go of. Haley from Girls Camp said, I wore my mission crush's crew neck to sleep over my garments. He had offered me said crew neck on a chilly pee day, and I took it back to my apartment. It felt so sexy. Oh my God. I love that story.
Wow.
In Germany with your crush's crew neck.
Wow.
In a chilly German night.
Wow.
That's gorgeous.
I just can't even imagine. I was so drunk. Just like mission.
Yeah, that would have been. Someone said they gave a hand job in the back of the mission car and got away with it.
I can't believe y'all were out having fun while some of us were knocking doors on the equator heat.
Yeah, this is all starting to make Tanner feel a little bit sad.
Left out. I didn't know y'all had secret clubs underground, doing fun stuff, sharing contraband.
Jared kind of said that. He was like, when he got back from his mission and he realized how over the years how many people broke the rules, he was like, damn it, I just didn't think you could.
Yeah.
I was sending nudes to my ex the whole time he was on his mission.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Wow.
Someone's rebellion was riding a tandem bike with a sister missionary they had a crush on during P-Day.
That would have been too thrilling. You're riding in tandem with the devil at that point, okay? You need to hop off. They may fly off the bike, but you got to get off that one-way ticket to hell.
Satan rides side saddle.
Yeah.
There's tons of space for him in a tandem.
It's the only way he's a lot out of the water, actually, is when he gets on his little tandem
straddling
bike.
a pole in his in the middle between you both.
That slut.
Well, what did we learn? We learned that people are rebelling at every level, and if you try and put them in an oppressive system where they have no sense of self, the human spirit is indomitable. Is that what's that word?
It's a good word.
Or is it
I'll stick with it.
indomitable?
No, indomitable.
Yeah. Yours was pretty dominable on the mission.
Oh yeah, I got domed hard by the mission.
You got domed so hard by Daddy Mission Press. Yeah, tell us the level of rebellious you were on your Mormon mission if you went on one. We would love to know. And another thing we would love from you, now that we're talking business, is for you to join our Patreon, where we are reading Tanner's Shoes Among the Nephites. You can also just join to support the channel. We, as Mormon Stories is always saying, we lose donors every month, so we have to constantly have new people to replace them to kind of like keep this YouTube channel running smoothly, which we hope it will continue running more and more smoothly throughout the remainder of the year.
The Patreon is like the LDS Church or the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
But people leave pretty often, so we really do need you to join.
We love you. You're great. Thank you for the time you spent with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here for us, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. We'll see how long this video ends up being. And can't wait to do our Costa Rica claymation debrief. That's going to be fun.
That will be so cathartic. Hey, love you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
This has been great.